Hit next to the MARR Army Rock Show. I'm so excited to have Bo Lastovich with us, man. So, true story here. True Villains, a band we found and were listening to, added to our Golden Dozen, loved it, added them to our chart, been listening to it, then realized that Bo was their singer. Bo's with us now. Welcome back to the show, man.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great, and we were just talking off air. It's been years since I talked to you, so man, I love the new band. Tell us a little bit about the formation of True Villains. It's been around a little bit, right? It's been a work in progress.
Yes, sir. So the band kind of started out with the drummer and the guitar player. They met in L.A. They were both going to MI Institute, and first Matt, the drummer, he had moved to Nashville, and Tim kind of followed afterwards, and Matt had already made some connections down here, and they started gigging out doing the sideman thing, playing for other artists and picking up whatever gigs, and that's where they had met other members that eventually became members of True Villain, since like Greg on keys and Barry on bass. They'd met him on other gigs. And then they had one show where they had a different singer originally, and they wasn't going to work out after their first show, and so they had actually put out an ad on Craigslist, and I was living in Minnesota and saw the ad for this Nashville band, and I just responded to it and started talking and chatting with them, and they sent me some demos, and then I moved down to Nashville.
Wow, and it's that easy, and I'm just kidding. And, hey, here we fast forward a little bit, and next thing you know, you guys are working with a pretty well-known producer on this release. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Nick and what he brought to the work you've done?
So we met Nick through another, mutual music industry friend here that kind of told Nick about us, so he came to a showcase thing to check us out, and really liked what we were doing, so we scheduled to have a meeting with them, and then we played through a bunch of our songs, and he's like, yeah, let's get you guys in the studio, and we worked something out and went in the studio, recorded some songs, and we are slowly releasing those. We just released that first single, The Villain, and we're releasing our second single, Blood in the Water, on Friday, and both of them we recorded with Nick.
So I'm going to ask you about the second one in a minute, but let's talk about The Villain a little bit now. There's a music video out for that one. It's a cool music video. Tell us a little bit about the shooting of that video. I'm going to assume you weren't really in a storage locker, right?
No, that's where we practice out of. We really practice out of a storage unit.
Tell me more. How does that go down? So, you guys, that's what rehearsal space goes for in Nashville, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many bands here and artists and people looking to play. And there's a couple storage units that, cater to the musician thing. So if you actually go there at night, you'll hear just tons of bands playing or people solo rehearsing. And it kind of just is a good location for us because we live all, outside of Nashville. Some of us live north, some of us live south, some east, some west. And this is kind of like a place in the middle where we just all meet together.
Now, in that video, we see some live shots, too, and people that maybe are a little new to your band, you guys have been performing for a little bit, right? Tell folks about the history of that.
Yeah, I think I moved down here 3.5 years ago, and as soon as I moved down here, we had started jamming, and the guy that actually did that video, I met him on day one. When I moved down here, he was already a friend of the band's that was shooting some stuff for him, even when they had a different singer. So he has content from, our first, probably the day we have, all got together and met and rehearsed, and has stayed with us since then. He went on some dates with us when we did the Steel Panther thing, came and supported, ton of our in-town shows, and some other random gigs where we've just played out of town in Missouri or Kentucky or something like that. And the video is kind of just a compilation of everything from, some of it's not actually from the beginning because we actually changed over time to how we look. But some of it, some of that footage is gathered from years, at least 2 years probably.
Now, you mentioned there's a new single out. You guys are teasing out there, Blood in the Water, coming out October 23rd. What can you tell us about the tune? There's some little dribs and drabs out there we get a sneak peek of, but talk to us a little bit more about that tune, what we can expect.
It's the same as Nick, so same really badass production. I'd say that most people, this this one is like the banger, like the one that people are most excited about. Like when we've been kind of like pitching it around a little bit. Like this is the one.
Now, have you had to adapt your style? Like we were talking, I've known you for a while now. I kind of remember you as a little bluesier, not really blues, but bluesier kind of singer. Have you adapted or had to change your style at all for this band? Or is it more natural you?
I mean, I just sing whatever, I don't know, whatever kind of goes with the music. I know when I met you, the band that I was playing in was way more of like a 70s jam band with like all different kinds of little bits of genre stuff like thrown in there. And this is more just like a straight up rock, but it did, like even from our first recordings before we were working with Nick, it was definitely in more of the blues rock thing, and we've kind of progressed into a little bit more like heavier with like more touches on the modern style too, because we're not really trying to be like a throwback band. We obviously like just have a little bit of that sound naturally, but we're just just playing what comes out, and then having Nick's production helps to make us like help us get that bigger modern sound into our music as well.
So, we talked about years ago, I met you out there, first knew of you guys at Rockfest Cadott, and their lineup came out. Is there any hope for some live shows coming back soon for you guys? Any buzz about that or anything you can tell us?
I mean, we play shows here in town, and we do a couple, like, we'll get out every once in a while on the weekend, but it's so up in the air, we've had gigs canceled multiple times when we're supposed to leave to another city because yet again it's shut down from COVID, or the venue is like taking some time to shut down. It's so up in the air. It's like they're booking this festival too in just hopes that it's gonna happen, and all these bands have open schedules because they don't have any tours going on, and there aren't a lot of festivals that are releasing lineups because they don't even know if it's gonna happen or not.
Yes.
I feel like it's all just a lot of hope, and I hope it does too, man. I hope it comes back, and that's why we're kind of doing the slow game, releasing all these singles, and then in hopes that, we'll have a couple songs released, and we'll have a couple music videos released, and springtime and summer will be here, and hopefully we can start touring and playing original shows again and have some bit of normalcy.
Now, being a newish kind of band, what makes the difference for a band making that leap to the next level? And I mean, it's the secret every band wants to know, right? Is it radio play? Is it touring, social media? What do you think is like the next big step to take that next leap?
I mean, you have to have all these people supporting you, like the people in the industry helping you, and also, just people. There's too much content out right now, though. There's a lot of people dropping albums and stuff.
Yeah.
Just definitely getting that online support and people that are going to share it. We're going to try to get on, whether it's a small Spotify playlist or a larger one. I think Eddie Trunk is supposed to play Blood as soon as that comes out. Just trying to do as many small things as we can, reaching out to people. And I don't think you need mainstream. I mean, yeah, it's proven that you definitely don't need mainstream radio, but it helps. Like even if we just get like some of the Sirius XM playlists or any of that kind of stuff, we're just gonna reach out to as many people as we can, and hopefully they dig it. And if they do, they'll share it, and that'll be that.
So, 20 years ago, Nashville was obviously still a music city, but it wasn't a rock city. And, now it seems like I'm just always interviewing bands that are in the Nashville area now. What is it about that locale that's so good for rock these days?
I mean, country still reigns supreme here for sure, but there are so many different kinds of bands, and there's like little pockets of Nashville, like East Nashville, where all the punk rock, indie bands, and like just kind of things that are different genres mixing together. And there's before COVID, there was a lot of venues here that are open, and always people going out to shows. Honestly, the weekday shows are more lit than weekend shows, I would say.
Wow, that's interesting.
Bands can always play Monday, 7 days a week, and there's so many shifts available downtown or just other venues to play at, and people always putting on shows literally every single night of the week. And you go in there, and there's going to be people watching. It's not going to be when I grew up in Minnesota, there's no weekday shows, and people definitely aren't coming to watch you play on a weekday.
Yeah, you're St. Cloud, right? Is that where you were from, I think? Or
yeah, Big Lake, yeah. St. Cloud, Plymouth, kind of bouncing around.
So it's still a lot of good rock supporters up there, but you're right, not a lot of midweek stuff happening in that area. So, hey, so I know a little bit of this about you, but for folks new, I mean, your vocals are awesome on this. Like I said, I loved the band before I realized it was you. For folks that don't know, give us a little bit of your musical training background, because you got an interesting musical history yourself.
Yeah, so I started out as a guitar player, more so. Like, once I finally discovered rock music was when I got my guitar, and had just kind of been pushed into singing because of the first band I started. I was the one that would sing on key, and then as I just progressed, went through more and more bands. I always became the singer until I was just singing, and I wasn't really playing guitar at all anymore, and just got better and better at it. Played in all kinds of cover bands too, which helped develop my ability to grow my range and use different parts of my voice, which I'm still doing. I feel like even since I moved to Nashville, I've learned different ways to use my voice and adapt. And even being in different original bands too. Like I said, that first band was way more jammy, definitely a softer side, and this is more of a hard rock band, and doing less of the 80s scream type stuff, I guess, if you want to call it that. Yeah, just kind of adapting with whatever is going on, and just always learning. The voice is always growing and figuring out new things.
Well, hey, listen, this is great work you got out there right now. The band is True Villains. They're out of Nashville. Their song, The Villains, in our Golden Dozen right now, and they've got a new song. By the time you're listening to this on the MARR Rock Show, that song is already out. So, hey, Bo, where's the best place for folks to go to learn more about True Villains and pick up your stuff and all that good stuff?
You can find us, the handle is always True Villains Nashville for Instagram, Facebook, our website, and then obviously just True Villains for all streaming platforms. You can find those songs. And then YouTube, we got a music video out, and then we'll have another one dropping for Blood too.
Well, Bo Lastovich, everybody. Bo, thanks so much for being back on the Rock Show. It's good to hear from you, and I hope to see you performing live real soon, man.
Yes, thank you for having me.